When humans first landed on the planet Caligo 5, we encountered a vast world of mountainous terrain constantly covered by mist, a breathable atmosphere, and strange organisms of fungal and plant nature, with even stranger animals. Most of the animals of this planet were airborne, with few exceptions, the most notable of which was the screaming giant. It towers over most mountains. It has 4 legs, a distinctly square head, and it always screams, perpetually. One of the first observations made on it was that it's non-hostile. The other observation is that it never actually stops screaming, and its mode of nutrition seems to be chemosynthesis, so it doesn't eat either. Simply, it doesn't even stop screaming to breathe. We found that the DNA of this creature was very programmable, and physical changes on its body would happen with changes to its DNA. It was terraformed and turned into a walking research center. It was used for everything from transportation of cargo to research to extraction of minerals. Energy of the plant was taken from its body, and many personnel also lived on the walking research center. At some point, the people living on the walking research center expressed discomfort at the screaming, not because of the volume, which in reality wasn't that loud, but instead it's because whenever they heard the scream, they experienced a strange temptation to scream as well. The screaming giant does not have any telepathic abilities. It was simply a weird psychological effect on the people living on the research center. News about the screaming affecting people reached main space station Earth and many other human colonies. People felt sympathy towards the creature. Many expressed their opinion that the reason it was screaming was because of being transformed into a walking research center, that it was being abused, and it was screaming out of pain. Despite scientists providing their logic that the creature was always screaming, and screaming is simply a part of its nature, they couldn't provide a proper reason to why it was screaming. No biological explanation to why screaming must be necessary to it. So the people were not convinced by the explanations. They were motivated by emotions instead. Some people even protested in real life, which is mostly out of tradition or authenticity, since most of the protests happened in the externet. Because many Earth colonies run on democracies, the public opinion being to free the creature bared heavy impact. So the decision was made. The screaming giant was freed on a land-based station of the planet. All the machinery stripped from its body and its DNA re-altered to restore its original form. After being freed, it stopped screaming. It looked at the people from the station as if it was about to say something. The station weapon systems were activated in case it turned hostile. Then it started screaming again, and then wandered off while screaming. Sometimes you wonder whether the screaming giant knows something that if we knew, we'd be screaming too. Or maybe it lives in a constant level of horror and pain, in a more than physical level. Creatures of this planet don't show aging with time like animals from Earth do. They still die, and they kill each other, and they eat each other, and they die by accident, but they don't age. You would think that if they knew what happens to animals on Earth with time, they'd think it's very weird too. So maybe what we perceive as very weird is very ordinary for them. But then again, other creatures of the planet don't scream like the screaming giant. But maybe the screaming is only normal for it. Or maybe it really does know something that we don't. Maybe it's best that we don't. But for now, like often, we are left with more questions than answers.